to vote pro on the initiative, as this is an important direction that we do want to go back and compromise our children. Thank you.
Thank
I'm for Education at the Washington Policy Center, and I support restoring the Washington Parents' Bill of Rights. Over 30 states currently have a Parents' Bill of Rights. The first state to have one was Arizona back in 2010. And close to 2/3 of states also have parental rights through what's called strict scrutiny in the courts, meaning there must be evidence of actual harm before the state is allowed to intervene and infringe upon the fundamental rights of parents. Yet under the guise of promoting quote unquote safe and supportive education systems, last year parents' rights were gutted. Conspicuously absent from supporters' claims about why parents' rights should be gutted is any scientifically rigorous research that, one, links adoption of parental bills of rights with documented increases in harm to children, or children. One of the most consistently documented research findings in educational and developmental literature is that informed and engaged parents contribute to better child health and educational outcomes. In conclusion, there is no credible scientific basis for treating Washington parents as though they're public enemy number one. But there is an expansive body of evidence that keeping parents in the dark makes children less safe. Thank you.
Anyway, hello, my name is Matt Bell, and I'm speaking to you as both a parent and a teacher to strongly urge you to support. I expect public institutions to respect my role in my child's life, to uphold policies that are grounded in equity and common sense. These two initiatives do exactly that. In my role, I have had kids ask policies that exclude or override parents, weaken trust, they create conflict, and ultimately harm students. Restoring parental rights affirms that families have a central and respected role in decisions that affect their children's education, health, and development. These initiatives reflect the values of fairness, transparency, and accountability. They support students, they respect families, and they provide educators with clear guidance rather than confusion. I urge you to stand with parents and teachers by supporting these initiatives. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for listening to us. This is very serious stuff, and I wish District 22 was here, but they're not. So thank you, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Keith Holder. I'm a nationally board certified teacher in the Olympia School District, a lifelong Olympia resident, and a father of 4 graduates of our public school system. With over 30 years of experience as a music educator, I believe deeply in the importance of public education and the necessity of strong partnerships between schools and families. I also want to be very clear about why I'm speaking out on these issues. The policies outlined in the Parental Bill of Rights and in this most recent initiative do not directly affect me. I have a great work environment. I love my students. I thoroughly enjoy the families that I get to work with, and I'm blessed to have very supportive colleagues and administrators. After 30 years, it would be very easy for me to just go to work, go home, and never engage in this conversation at all. But I'm here precisely because it's easy for me not to be here. It's easier for all of us just to stay quiet, to not rock the boat, to just go along to get along and hope that common sense wins out. An approach that has not served our students well over the last decade. One of the main purposes of legislation is to establish the clear foundation on which our society rests. Our founding fathers recognized this in the Declaration of Independence by affirming truths they considered to be self-evident. It is often these obvious truths that are the most important to protect, no matter what social media seems to be screaming at us. When we as adults and leaders fail to stand our ground and clearly affirm the rights of parents to be primary in their children's lives, the foundation beneath our schools begins to shake. In educational psychology, all educators have learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is a foundational principle in education and childhood development that essentially states a child cannot learn effectively if their basic needs for safety, trust, and stability are not met. When adults intentionally weaken communication between school and home, we shake that stability. When children feel that the adults in their lives are not aligned or that trust is fragmented, it directly hinders their ability to focus and engage. Our schools do so many things well, but we also must be honest about our limits. As a middle school band teacher, I'm an expert in my field. I can tell you with great specificity all the problems you have with playing your trumpet. But schools are not in any way equipped by time, staffing, or scope to replace parents as experts on a child's mental health or personal well-being. We cannot cut parents out of the equation for the most complex parts of a child's life. Hiding information from parents does not protect students. Instead, it destabilizes the very relationships they need to rely on. Our responsibility as leaders is to fortify the foundation beneath our kids so they have a stable base from which to grow, explore, and learn. Parental rights in a supportive learning environment should never be reduced to a matter of political ideology. If we actually want to protect our children, we must commit to protecting the truth. Thanks for your time.
We can have Hope come up as well as Eric Pratt, and then we're also, if we can keep comments down about 2 minutes each, I can get one more group in for people who signed up today and they walked in to testify. That'd be Ryan DeFont and Sharon Hannick.
Good evening. Thank you for being here, listening to all this passionate
Yeah, it should be
testimony
a
about such an
no-brainer.
important topic on the mind of every parent in Washington State. My name is Eric Pratt. I am here in full and wholehearted passionate support of the initiative 26001. I'm father of 2 kids, single father. They're in school age. I'm a Washington citizen who cares about all of our rights. Chief among them, I think, which we need to consider among all of them, but one of the most important ones I want to read here. Article 1, the Declaration of Rights. Section 1, political power. All political power is inherent in the people, and the governments derived their just powers from the consent of the governed, and are established to protect and maintain individual rights. The people in this room, myself, the 400,000
Mr. Bell.
people that have signed the initiative
Love
have
me to
not
restream.
consented to having their parental rights stripped away from them. They are affirming them in the due process allowed to them in our Constitution. We, the governed, do not consent to having these rights taken from us. That is my testimony. Thank you very much.
Parental rights are not a privilege granted by government. I mean, maybe I should repeat that again. Parental rights are not a privilege granted by government. They are a natural reality rooted in the fundamental role of parents playing in raising and nurturing and protecting their own children. Right? Those rights include guiding their education, safeguarding their health, and shaping their value. But today we face troubling truth that many parents have not just lost their rights in some arenas, we've actually relinquished them. People are lazy. complacent. We must take responsibility for that. You know, following a bunch of great speakers have already given you all the details that you need, right? We all know what's right and what's wrong. And I think about how difficult of a position that you're in because you're like David facing Goliath. Then I thought about William Wilberforce. I don't know if you ever read his book, but I highly recommend what that man was able to overcome. And it didn't happen overnight, but he made a decision whether he's going to become a politician or a pastor. And he said, well, I can make more of a difference becoming a politician. So he decided to end slavery. And he thought it would happen overnight because slavery's wrong. Us being parents, not having our rights over our children is wrong. This should be an easy thing, right? It took him 40 years to the detriment of his health. And he was just this little tiny dude, but with a great big voice and a great passion because he knew what was wrong. You see, the enemy knows what he's doing. He gets our kids. Because if you get the kids, you get the future. We fell asleep. We all fell asleep. We medicated ourselves, sedated ourselves,
Exactly.
we
It should
scroll
be
on
a
our phones and
no-brainer.
we eat too much. And we've lost the truth. We've lost our will. But here's what I say to you now. Read that book. Read the autobiography of William Wilberforce and understand what he was up against and what he did. It took him 40 years to do it. I'm guessing this is gonna happen much quicker for us because I see the winds of change are happening. And are you really willing to get on that wave, right? And paddle like crazy because that tsunami is happening. Do not let it pass you. We're gonna be behind you. I'll get everyone I know to be behind you. If you're willing to be brave and courageous and bold for something that is unbelievably important, is standing up for our children, and it's time for men to be men again. And we apologize, and I said to the other one, as women, that we have castrated you, and we have put you in a position to where you can't be the men that God has created you to be, the leaders, the one that will stand up and protect our children and our women. We're sorry for that, but it's time for that to end. I liken it to this. There's a bowl full of pudding, right? And you put a teaspoon of poo in it, and they're like, it's all right, it's just a teaspoon of poo. But we're up to a cup of poo in our pudding, and we're still going.
For me to cut in, but you got about 30 seconds.
I want to say it right now, when you're like for us to push the pudding away and say it's not good, what have I been thinking? And I praise God that each and every one of you understand, as David did with that little sling and a stone, and I mentioned to another beautiful woman here again, if you're willing to do it, if you're willing to stand up and put it all on the line for something I think is more important than anything else, it's the future, it's our kids.
Yeah.
Fight for them.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Quickly come up as we're approaching the top of the hour. I think it was Ryan DuPont and Sharon, if you can come up to the front. Yeah, and if you could do about 2 minutes each, so we can make sure. Yeah, Travis will wave the white card, but go ahead.
First of all, thank you all for being here tonight and giving us a voice. It's really rare. My name is Ryan DuPont. I'm going to speak from the perspective of a teacher and a parent. A few years ago in the Olympia School District at Centennial Elementary, that has been in the news. I was a teacher, I was a parent, and that mess became my message tonight. Never thought I would be here speaking to it, but here we are. As a teacher, I sat in staff meetings where we were told how to hide student information. We were trained how to hide student information. We were threatened with RCWs if we dared spoke up to our parents, who were trusted with their kids. I remember kind of speaking against it or just sharing my concerns, and then I was threatened. I was attacked. I was given a letter in my file, and I had to leave the district. My daughter was in a classroom, in a 5th grade teacher in this nice classroom, where she groomed, or whatever you want to call it, a student, and watching my daughter go through confusion about what's going on with her friend, what are these lessons going on in her classrooms, and not being able to say a word. We were able to opt out, and 5 days later, that was taken back. And being in that building and knowing what kind of content and lessons were being taught, and told we couldn't opt our kid out of that classroom, and how dare myself as a teacher speak up, and as a parent as well. And again, I was attacked, threatened, and had to sit in meetings and be disciplined. And with that letter in my file, how dare they? My parents reached out to me, they wanted to opt out, several parents, I'll be quick, Travis, sorry. And I had to tell them no. Student, long story, some of you know, Travis shared the story before, but this student had to leave the country. This family had to return to India out of fear. You think we've lost trust when we have families leave our country? It's ridiculous, it needs to end. Thank you for your time.
Leave kids alone.
Just wave very hard. Start by saying I urge the support of IL001 because it is a tool that is necessary to give parents access to the surveys, to the mental health evaluations, to even the classroom projects of creating ice stinks sign, which I just saw recently, and protest marches. The number one survey that is well known is a Health Youth survey, but there's also other surveys, the Expert, the Panorama, and I just learned about Check Yourself. Those are all tools used to transform a child's mind and change their values, beliefs, and their attitudes. The Healthy Youth Survey, when it came out in 2002, asked questions to sixth graders. Did you have more than a sip of beer or wine recently? And then they asked the question, have you ever seriously thought about killing yourself? And question number 49, have you tried to kill yourself? We wonder why children are committing suicide when every Healthy Youth Survey asks suicide questions starting at 11-year-olds. Parents don't know about that. The Healthy Youth Survey is told, parents are told that it's happening if you read the 8-point font print in the newsletter, the Biz newsletter. But most people don't realize this is the survey their kids are getting. The surveys also with mental health treatments, I see that, they create conclusions, decisions about your child and treatment about your child. And
give us more information. We have QR codes, give us more information. We have QR codes that we have around that you can scan, sign in, pro or con. Before we get to the next one, the next initiative, I really want to call out the context. We really want to hear from people who have opposition to either one of these initiatives. That's the whole point of doing a listening session, hearing those. We did invite a large cadre of people who were very active in the opposition of this so far, including the Washington Education Association, Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, ACLU, Gender Justice League, Planned Parenthood, SEIU 775, the Lavender Rights Project, Washington Youth Alliance, Team Child, Washington Democrats, and Pro-Choice Washington. We want to hear from them. We want to hear their con too. And we hope that they will be able to sign in and give us that information as well. So with that, we're going to conclude 001, and we're now going to return to our second initiative, IL 26638, relating to defending equity in interscholastic sports.
Oh, God.
And we would like to kick this off before we hear from comments.
Thank you, Representative Corey.
You're too scared.
Initiative IL 26638, defending equity in interscholastic sports. This initiative utilizes already existing processes to ensure that only biological females compete in girls' sports, protecting the integrity of female athletics in Washington. Student athletes are already required to have a physical exam prior to participating in school sports.
Everything's clown world.
This initiative requires that athletes participating in girls' sports submit verification from a healthcare provider that they are biologically female, along with their medical eligibility forms. Parents and athletes will work with their healthcare providers to determine which of 3 verification methods is right for them: testosterone testing, genetic testing, or a physical exam.
Only the family's chosen healthcare provider will verify the student athlete's biological sex. This initiative also provides students whose eligibility is challenged based on biological sex with the right to contest the decision prior to a final determination. Under current law, the nonprofits governing school sports can already impose penalties on coaches, school district administrators, school personnel, and students who violate the rules. The initiative extends the governing body's authority to include penalizing those who knowingly violate the rules prohibiting biological males in girls' sports, or those whose violation causes them to gain a significant competitive advantage that materially harms other student athletes. Representative Corey.
Thank you, Senator. We're going to go ahead and, similar to the last format, if you can come up, we'll have the two people at the panel at one time, and then we'll call up an on-deck section. So we're going to start first with Brian Haywood and Annalee Wilson, if they can come to the podium, as well as on deck we'll have Francis Stout and Dory Whitford. And I apologize if I mispronounced your first name.
Thank you very much. The testimonies you're going to hear after mine, again, are going to be much more impactful than mine. I'm simply providing the vehicle for them to speak, but I want to say a couple of things on this one. As we started this journey, we started this process, what I was told repeatedly, or the criticism that we received, was, first of all, it's not happening. It's not happening. And then, well, it's happening, but it doesn't impact that many people. The WIAA came out with a number. They said, well, it's 10. In Washington State, it's 10. The OSPI said it's 5 to 10. That told me that something about that suggested that they didn't know what the number is. If you say it's 5 to 10, it's 100% difference in your number, which means you're just making the number up. So with the WIA, we reached out to them and asked them, do you track this? And if you do, can you tell me a breakdown by sport and how many are doing it? And they said, we don't really, it's hearsay. We've heard about 10 cases. So there's no tracking on this data. But what I did hear from is the girls that it does impact. Now there's a second tack that they took to us. If they can't win on those things, then the next thing they said is, well, you're a bigot. And that's the end all of all conversations. And you'll hear from these girls, they were all called bigots for standing up for their own spaces. Second thing is, you're banning trans athletes from playing in sports, which this absolutely does not. It says only that girls can play in girls' sports and boys can play in boys' sports. There is no ban of any sort of athlete as long as they play in their sport. The final thing that's been thrown out is, oh my gosh, this is going to cause genital exams. And they love throwing that word out there because it sort of makes everybody feel icky. And then it makes whoever's proposing this seem even worse. This law does something very simple. It says there's already under state law a requirement for every single student, male or female, to get a health checkup, to get a physical from their pediatrician or their doctor. That has been required for well over 50 years. Boys have been going through this with a turn your head and cough that is very hands-on. And I don't know what's going to happen to trans girls. Do they have to get that or not? I think there's safety. I
didn't even think about
likely
that.
saying this, but there's a safety issue here. If we ignore science, this is about the safety of the student. There is nothing in this law that would require or would allow or encourage in any way a coach, a track meet official, a referee, or anyone of that sort to have anything to do with this. This is only between the student athlete and their pediatrician. And if the pediatrician has been their pediatrician for years, they don't even really need to check because they already know. They can check the box and we're done. The final thing that I want to say is this initiative is not about hate, it's not about exclusion, it's about the safety, the mental health, and the fairness that girls deserve in competing in their sports. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Olympia Wilson. I'm a sophomore at Eastmont High School in Olympia, Washington. I'm currently 16 years old, and I'm a student athlete who runs track, cross country, and up until this year I played basketball. I'm here today because fairness and safety in girls' sports matters to me, and because I have personally experienced what happens when fairness and safety is taken away. In the 8th grade, I qualified for Kashmir Junior Olympics in track and field. Only the top 2 athletes from each event qualified for this meet. And that season, I had dislocated my kneecap playing basketball and spent months in painful rehab to recover just during that spot. When I arrived at the Junior Olympics, I had no idea I'd be racing against a biological boy. I didn't even realize it until after the race when he stood on the podium in first place, and every girl, including me, was pushed down one spot. When my friends spoke up, including me too, an adult from his team said that if we were going to complain, we would need to go somewhere else to do so. In that moment, it felt like everything we had worked for, every early morning, every injury, every sacrifice no longer mattered. When my family and I respectfully spoke up, we never expected the backlash that would follow. I had been called hateful, transphobic, a bigot. Adults called me stupid. Adults told my parents they should be ashamed of me. I've also been told that I'm just a sore loser and I should train harder and not suck so much. My family has been threatened with lawsuits, we've lost friendships, and my safety has been threatened. All while being told that I am the hateful one. I have even been told that I would be responsible if this transgender athlete decided to take their life. This is an unbearable weight to place on anyone of any age. People tell me that this isn't a big deal. They say there aren't many transgender athletes. They say it's just high school sports. But since the 8th grade, I have competed against 4 biological males. 4 times I have watched girls lose podium spots, rankings, and confidence. And this is not just about high school sports. For me, my teammates, friends, and so many girls across Washington State, this is about our dreams. We train for hours, we push through pain, exhaustion, and injuries. We sacrifice because we are told that that hard work and discipline matter, that if we give our best, we can achieve our goals. That belief is what is being taken from us. I continue to speak out because I know how it feels to have something you earned taken away, and I am not alone. Girls across Washington State have messaged me, girls who are scared to speak up publicly and are discouraged and afraid. They've told me that they've lost awards, rankings, and podium spots, and opportunities. They've told me that if they protest, even peacefully, they are threatened with suspension by their schools or coaches. As female athletes, we feel like our voices don't matter. Our fairness and safety are being dismissed by the very adults who are supposed to protect us. This is not about hate, and this is not about discrimination. This is about protecting girls, physically, emotionally, and competitively. There are real differences between boys and girls, and acknowledging that reality is not hate. In closing, I ask those who have the power to decide our future to protect us. You have the power to protect fairness, you have the power to protect girls' safety, and you have the power to show us that we matter too. Your decision sends a message to every female athlete in Washington that our dreams matter, our voices matter, and our opportunities matter. Thank you.
Francis Stout and Dory Whitford, and then on deck, Lauren Legere, if I got that right, and Tish